where he was talking about free practice and the potential or the desire to eliminate free practice as a whole. In some of the recent things that he was saying is that in the near future we might see free practice in Formula One just gotten rid of altogether. And I don't know if the idea is to have more sprint races, more races in general, or just qualifying and the race, a 2-day weekend. I'm not sure, but I certainly had plenty of opinions of this at the time, just reading some of the quotes and the headlines as well. But I wanted to ask you guys this because I think it was a very interesting topic that even some of the drivers talked about. So, Tyler, what would you think about that, of getting rid of free practice altogether in Formula One?
I personally wouldn't be a fan, and that's for the reason of, if you go as a fan, some people can't afford race day tickets or qualifying day tickets. Some people go, to the Friday to be able to see their cars go around the track, general admission, be able to get to the track, and those are the days where you can actually get tickets most did for a lot now. So, I think that would deter a lot of fans who would love to go see Formula One but can't afford the race or qualifying or anything like that. I think that that would be a bad decision in that case. But the policy you could swing from is that it create more chaos on race day where no one would know what their setup is like. And I don't think that's good for racing. If you don't know, don't get the right setup for your car and car's not handling well, I just don't think that would create good racing. So I don't agree with it personally.
No, I don't agree with it either, and I feel like it is to bring probably more sprint races into F1. But free practice is not, and like you mentioned, for the fans is great too. For like it's a cheaper day to go, but free practice is more definitely for the teams to build up the cars and test out for the track itself. And if that gets taken away, it does create a lot more chaos on race day. And like it kind of just leaves them to find what their setup's going to be in qualifying. And there's not a whole lot of time in qualifying in the end. That you go out for a lap, a few laps, test out your car, and you have to go back, and you basically have like 30 seconds in the end to get it, which kind of makes qualifying more chaotic as well. But no, I don't think it's the best idea. And it's funny with just like I guess motorcycle racing just introduced sprint racing as well this year, or for a few of them as well. And I was just talking to one of my coworkers who's like a huge into most motorcycle racing, and he was like, "Oh, I'm not sure how I feel about it, but like it seems like an exciting way to do it." And I've kind of like brought up my opinion. I'm like, you know what? I feel like the race is kind of just decided on sprint race, on at the sprint race, and the actual race isn't as exciting anymore. Like the build up to the race is kind of gone. But if they take away free practice and introduce a sprint race, it's kind of just more of a huge thing for fans that they're doing and less for the sport itself, I think. But we'll see where they decide to go with it. Not a fan. This is what I want to get at.
Like, I don't know, maybe if they eliminate practice three, like, and just keep Fridays as practice, Thursday is qualifying, or sorry, Friday practice, Saturday qualifying, and Sunday's the race. Like, maybe that's an option. But I think you have to have at least two practices, personally.
We talking about practice?
Fuck shit up.
Allen Iverson.
I hope people will get that reference, but I don't know. I mean, it's not a big fan of Dominicali since he's taken over. He's just, and I know why he's doing it. Of course, we mentioned this earlier in the show. It's about the money and it's about the revenue being generated. So they're going to do things that they think, at least, is going to generate the most money and the most viewers and attract the most of the Netflix audience. But I mean, you can't get rid of practice because Formula One is soon turning into a sport in which the athletes in said sport barely get time to practice. I mean, imagine telling that to a footballer or a tennis player or a hockey player that, hey, we're going to get rid of practice and you're just going to show up on game day and the best that you can do. I mean, that's not going to go over well with the athletes. And I know that practice isn't the most exciting, but Tyler, you brought up the point right off the bat, which was exactly what I was going to say, is most fans only get that chance to go to that Friday session and watch 60 minutes of, practice sessions. Obviously, it used to be a lot more with them being 90 minutes. So you got 3 hours of F1 action. And look at Canadian fans, for example. I mean, most Canadians are only able to attend that one race a year in Montreal. And you want to show up to the track and be able to see as much cars running on track as possible. And if you eliminate the practice, you're not going to see as much. You're only going to see 1 hour qualifying and maybe, that 2 hour race. That's not enough for me. And guarantee you that they're going to end up charging even more money than they are right now for race day tickets, which it's already insane with the prices they're charging. So I don't like it at all. We already have minimal amounts of testing, and I know that's all for cost cap and things like that, but I know some of the drivers came out over the weekend. George Russell in particular said that he'd be okay with getting rid of practices, but I'm just not sure. I mean, obviously, it doesn't matter for us in the end. We're not driving the cars, but it just seems like for a sport that's so technical and that's so much about feel and experience, F1 drivers practice the least out of any athlete of any sport that I could think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't know many other leagues or professions where you don't practice. So, I mean, also, I know there's a lot of sim time and stuff like that, but I mean, I've never been in a sim. Obviously, they're realistic, but there can't be anything like driving the circuit and getting it, getting the weekend experience of getting your ideas of the track. So, what do? You throw some F2 rookie with no practice into Saudi Arabia where he's never raced before or something like that. Like, I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me. Obviously, he needs practice to go around the track and figure out his bearings. So, yeah, I don't know how that's going to work.